And when I purchased, or rather had my folks purchase, Maniac Mansion from the Nintendo, it was one of those blind pickups. I thought the name was cool, I thought the cover sure looked interesting, and as a kid, that's all you needed. Now, this game probably has the distinction of being one of the few times a blind purchase like that actually worked out, as I'd go on to dump a lot of hours into this game, and I'm actually reminded of this story that I'm about to tell you because I was playing on this very day. I was probably about 10 or so at the time, if I remember correctly, and I was going to have a sleepover with a friend from school I'd never spent the night with before. And in our planning earlier that day, talk turned to video games and what he thought would be a good game to rent for the night. Now, having purchased Maniac Mansion a couple weeks before and putting a lot of time into it, I told him that, going to the video store wasn't going to be necessary. I had a pretty awesome new game I was bringing over. And I may have thrown the word rad in there a time or two, but I can't recall. So I get there and I find out there's going to be a crowd, not just me and my friend. It's me, him, his younger brother, his older sister, and a couple of other kids from the neighborhood who I'd never met. Now, I kind of preferred one-on-one hangouts, so at this point I was kind of cycling through just feeling awkward to just plain offended that, I'm not enough company? That passed though, and we all really started to have a good time playing some of the, Nintendo standards like Super Mario and Duck Hunt. It was about an hour in when my friend remembered the bold claims I had made earlier in the day and wanted to see that game I was talking about. I obliged. I reached in my bag, took hold of it, but paused for a moment, building anticipation, of course. Or either making all the other kids wondering, what the hell is wrong with this kid? As if I was producing Excalibur, I pulled it out in one swift motion for all to see. And I got a room full of puzzled faces. But I can get that because, as far as I know, there wasn't really any advertisement for this game. I don't recall a commercial, and at this point in time, I don't remember even seeing it in Nintendo Power. But I popped it in, and as with anyone who sits down with it for a few minutes, everyone really fell in love with it. We even found a neat way of kind of playing cooperatively, as you select 3 characters at the beginning of the game, and 3 kids would play at a time and assign ourselves to a character, and we would pass the controller around as needed. It worked out decent, and you had to work with what you were given back then. But as with most of my video game memories, things took a dark turn. You see, the first batch of carts that were released, they allowed you to microwave the pet hamster of one of the characters that lived in the house. Now, it didn't really serve any purpose, as doing so and then presenting it to the character just resulted in your character being killed. I guess it was just supposed to be funny. I always thought it was a little distasteful, though. And I never really, made a point to do it. Still, I figured it would be one of those gross yet funny things to show off to everyone. Little did I know that about 10 minutes later, the night would be coming to an end. And we'd snatched the hamster up before. Of course, nobody thought to try to put it in the microwave. So there was no real reaction when I snatched the hamster up, yet again. And nobody really questioned me when I walked into the kitchen. But that kind of bored silence gave way to a real shocked silence when they saw that the option existed to plop that thing in the microwave. And doing so resulted in a few seconds of whirring and then a semi-graphic exploded hamster. I mean, this is the Nintendo we were talking about, so it's far from detailed, but for some folks, apparently bad enough. My friend's sister threw up right there on the spot. Now, it's not one of those where there was, gagging in it. It worked its way up. This was one of those that just shot up like a soda bottle that had been strapped to a jackhammer for a half hour and then opened. It was with enough force that the kid sitting maybe 7 or 8 feet away from her got coated in it, which in turn led to them emptying on out. Next thing I know, my friend is next in line for a little bit of laughing at the floor, grabbing the sides of his head in such a frantic way that I wonder if he thought his brains were in danger of slipping out. He cried. His sister cried. But to the credit of the neighbor kid, he didn't. I guess that family's just weak. His mother eventually came down, probably wondering what all the commotion was about. And I can only imagine what went through her head when she realized she'd stumbled upon the great vomit orgy of 1991. I'd taken the last few moments to gather up my belongings and slowly start out the door. I mean, my house was just a few streets down, and even though I was a husky kid and it was a pretty hot summer, I really didn't mind the walk at all at this point. As I left, my friend's mother was surveying the room, which, come to think of it, if you replaced all the green and yellow stuff with red, would look like a pretty horrific crime scene. So yeah, if you find yourself one night with some company, you get out the Nintendo and you know for a fact that company just happens to have an incredibly weak stomach, go ahead and pop in Maniac Mansion. And although I don't condone animal violence, fry that fucking hamster.